Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. I am your host, Kage.
With Neff.
And Buttons.
And today we are talking about The Kids Win. But before we get into the kids' movies, we got to talk about Bad Boys 4 that just came out. Wow, what a surprise.
Yeah, man, let's hear what you got to say on that.
Yeah, so
exciting.
I saw Bad Boys 4 recently, and to my surprise, it was very, very good. Balance of comedy and action. My first Will Smith movie in a very, very long time. I think about it now, and I honestly can't tell you the last time I saw a Will Smith movie in theater. Anybody? Can you think of it?
Not in theaters. I did watch King Richard.
Okay.
But I didn't watch it in theaters.
A lot of the Will Smith movies that I've watched have either been streaming recently.
Okay.
But as far as a theater release for Will Smith, I'd say it's been probably a decade.
That's fair.
If not more.
That's
yeah,
fair.
I can't
like,
honestly think of anything that I saw in
I'm just spitballing here, but wasn't the movie he did with his son, was that the last?
That was a while ago, and I cannot pinpoint the year on that, but I want to say that was before 2011, but that was one that didn't get a lot of good praises.
Well,
What year was that, Buttons? Can you remember that?
Shoot. I mean, that one, I would say, I think you're right. I think it may be 2011 because,
Okay.
Did 7 Pounds come out after that or before that?
7 Pounds was definitely before that.
Okay. Well, we got a lot to unpack here, especially with Bad Boys alone. So all in all, I gave it, I want to say 8.5 and 9 out of 10 at the absolute most. It was just a solid, good time. At no point was I looking at my watch, when's this thing wrapping up, whatever. It was just a damn good time.
Wow.
I liked the jokes. It was great to see the cast come back together. First time seeing Martin Lawrence. Man, that man hasn't been in anything that I've seen in even longer than Will Smith's last movie that I recall. But they had a lot of the same cast, or a bare minimum referred to a character that wasn't there anymore. They at least referred to them. I think one of the highlights for me was there was so in Bad Boys 1, for anybody out there who's seen that, there was the kid that came to Martin Lawrence's house, and he was wanting to date.
Bad Boys 2.
Was that 2? Yeah, he was going to date, take his daughter out for a date, and and they
gets grilled,
and he gets 2 bad dads at the door, and they're sitting there going, yes, sir. And he's like, okay, make sure you bring her home. Okay, like that. Well, they brought him back, and he's now buff, and he's a Marine and stuff, and it was really funny. What do you do around here? You need to get a job. And he goes, I'm a U.S. Marine, sir. Then you need to deploy. So it was very, very cool. But yeah, talking about the movie, the lengthwise was good, the action was good. I'll even go so far as to say that I enjoyed this more than. I'm hoping I don't get a target on my back. I think it was better than John Wick 4.
Nice.
Because it was just a solid, good time. At no point was I like, oh, that was cheesy, that was stupid. It was the right amount of balance of action and comedy. They did it, and there was even some callback jokes. And understand, I haven't seen a Bad Boys movie in so many years, but the fact that you can make a callback joke, and I get what you're saying, it comes back. It's it just hit all the right notes for me. But this movie had a budget of 100 mil, and a box office as of right now of 249.2 mil.
Interesting.
So not bad.
Yeah.
I
want to see it get to that 300. I want to see it get to that 300, and not to cut you off there, Kage. let me say something. I did not watch this movie in theaters, but I do own this movie on DVD, and it is Focus with Will Smith and Margot Robbie. And I actually really like that movie a lot. I didn't watch it in theater, but if I could go back and watch it in theater, that would have been a movie from Will Smith that I would have watched in theater, and that
Okay.
came out in 2015.
Right.
That's a great movie, anybody. If you have not seen Focus, Will Smith and Margot Robbie, great movie. Kage, continue.
All right, no, that's a great one to bring up. I completely forgot about that.
And-
Did you
and
see it?
actu-
I did not.
Actually,
heard
I
it
was gonna ask you because, you look at Will Smith's career and a lot of his big, like in my opinion, the movies that I really enjoyed that he did were like the '90s and early 2000s.
Fair.
And it's not to say that he hasn't put out any good movies since then. It just seems like he's being a little bit more selective, maybe,
Sure.
on the projects that he's doing, and not all of them hit as far as the same demographic even. So one movie that he did do that I really enjoyed was Bright.
Yes,
and that one
I
was
enjoyed that. Thank you.
right.
That's
That was a
very good-
Netflix original one, and I thought because he's playing a police officer in that movie, but you're bringing in a new element to it as far as with the whole like monsters and things with like that
Orcs-
universe.
orcs and elves, the
Yeah,
fantasy
yeah,
thing,
it's a
yeah.
fantasy,
Setting.
alternate reality kind of thing. So I mean, from that perspective, it kind of plays a little bit both on his collective audience, as far as that fantasy or sci-fi realm,
Yeah.
as well as his action and comedy realm as
Right.
well. So it was, to me, it was kind of like a nice combination
Yeah.
of his target audience.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it kind of shows when we talk about his previous works. It kind of sounds like we're really speaking on his range as an actor, because he's done comedy. He's worked on animation before too,
Yeah.
animated film.
Spies in Disguise.
That and there's
he
this
also
where he
did-
played the fish.
Oh,
Pixar movie?
oh yeah,
Was it
that
Pixar?
was with Jack Black. Crap, what was that movie called?
We're looking
Shark Tale.
Shark Tale. Okay,
Shark
yeah.
Tale.
So I mean, like he's done all kinds of stuff:
Well, I
sci-fi,
mean-
action, drama. Like you.
Well, I mean,
you
look
name
at
it,
Men
he's
in
on
look
it.
at Men in Black.
Men
That's
in Black,
another one of his very
Independence Day.
famous,
Yeah.
movies. But he also did movies like, he's done other comedy movies like Wild Wild West. I really enjoyed.
I did too.
But he's also done like his serious roles, like The Legend of Bagger Vance and The Pursuit of Happiness.
Pursuit of Happiness. That's a big one.
Both of those are very serious movies. Well, I guess Legend of Bagger Vance not as much as Pursuit of Happiness, but you get to see him in a serious role. He's playing a serious character, and not just somebody after every joke. But and again, I watched King Richard because, again, it seemed like one of those roles where it would be a little bit more dramatic for him. It's not necessarily one that I truly enjoyed, but I saw where he was going with it. And even though I didn't enjoy the story as much, I still, appreciated the acting behind it. Because he definitely ended up playing a character that, my dad used to always say that, the true measure of an actor is where if they can pull you out of just seeing the actor and looking at the character,
Sure.
then that is, to where you're like, oh, I hate that person. It's like you don't hate the actor, you hate the character that they're portraying. And so you're just like, man, I can't wait to see them get killed or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that, again, is, a true measure of an actor. If you can pull away the disbelief of the fact that it's not just somebody acting as the character,
Yeah.
but you're like, no, that
You know-
character needs to die, and I,
Yeah.
so,
No, that's.
not that I'm saying that about King Richard. I'm just saying that the he played it so well that I believed that he could be that person as opposed to being Will Smith.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, you got those actors, people audience members sometimes forget that that's an actor, that's a person. They're just reading lines written by somebody. That's not them. And so you have situations like Lori from The Walking Dead, for example. I remember when they said that everyone hated that character. She cheated on her husband and blah, 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 blah. And she would be like walking in the grocery store getting groceries because remember, she's just a person just like you and me. And people would be like giving her looks, and it's like, I just play an actor. That's not me. You know what I mean?
Well,
So
exactly, because we talk about actors all the time where we're like, oh yeah, they're just playing themselves. Oh, that's
Kevin Hart.
well, Kevin Hart.
That's the
I mean,
first thing I thought.
but I'm just saying, like, we talk about, oh yeah, they get typecasted into these roles, but sometimes it's not even about typecasting. It's just they're playing themselves in a movie. They gave them a fake name or a different character, but it's still the same person. You don't disassociate that they're playing a character. You're just like, there's Kevin Hart being Kevin Hart in a movie.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I mean. So like when you are such a good actor that people, I'm not saying that actors should be treated like crap for their roles, but at the same time, it's like, isn't that what acting is? To make audience members think and believe that you are playing as so and so. Yeah, that's it right there.
Right.
That's good acting. But yeah, Bad Boys 4 was just a really great movie. I won't lie to you folks. I personally did not see Bad Boys 3. I watched it for maybe 20 minutes and checked out. I was just like, I just wasn't feeling it.
And that's been the general consensus I hear from a lot of people. Bad Boys 3 is a miss. And it's the second highest grossing Bad Boys ever. It's like
Bad Boys for life.
crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But you know what though? I'll say this much. After seeing 4, it makes me want to go back and give it another chance. There's
Some tie-ins, right, that were missing.
I imagine there's something I missed because I remember the first one very vividly. I think if I got to talking about the second one, some parts would come up. I do remember really liking it, but character's I think his name is Richie. I'll have to look that up. The boy who was in this movie who grew up or whatever.
Well, I mean, you're talking about too, a 4-year jump from
Reggie.
From Bad Boys for Life to Ride or Die, from Bad Boys 2, which was 2003 to 2020, I believe it was, right?
Yeah.
2020, yeah, for Bad Boys for Life. So I mean, you're talking about a huge leap, and I think that played into some of the box office too, is that getting that excitement. Some of those people who remembered the first 2 Bad Boys and were like, oh great, they're back together, let's go see this. And even if it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, I think the nostalgia played some factor. Plus we're coming out of around COVID, so I don't know if people were kind of just like, hey, why not? It's
Sure.
COVID. We're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's not a whole lot of other options going on.
Yeah, by the way, I got to quick correct myself. The character's name is Reggie, not Richie.
Oh.
Yeah, so Reggie, he's a Marine, and I'm not going to spoil anything. He has his moment to shine. One of his scenes in the movie is one of the best. Highly recommend you guys go see Bad Boys 4. Watch out for that scene. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Lots of action, just solid.
Okay.
But moving on, we have another topic here we got to talk about, Inside Out 2. That movie, I have not seen it. I won't lie to you, I have not seen it. But I did see it had a box office of 200 mil, and it's got a...
For opening weekend, right?
Yeah, or I'm sorry. Budget of 200 mil and a box office of 512 million. And we're still going. It's still in theaters, doing its thing. So time will tell what that will be like when it's done.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. 724.4 million now.
This is
What?
the second. Yes, this is the second weekend now. So we're talking
Did you check
about.
that on Friday?
Yeah, we're
So that's why, because now Sunday they put in
yeah,
the
they
gate
put in
for
Saturday.
Sunday.
Yeah.
So now we're at 724.4.
Yeah. So
So this
we
is going to
already
take the
knew-
box office crown probably by end of next week.
Yeah, we already knew. We spoke a little bit off mic after that first weekend for Inside Out and saw those numbers, and I had already kind of theorized that this was going to do well because it's the first really noticeable kids movie. I mean, we had Garfield, but most kids I don't feel are that into Garfield anymore. It's kind of out
Dated.
of time and it's not really their type of story. Whereas Inside Out 2 already had, its first initial movie that came out, and now you've got the return of the characters. And I think that, most parents are looking at this movie and going, okay, it's a Disney movie. We know the kids are going to enjoy it. We're going to take the whole family. And this is where you're seeing, just right prime in the middle of summer vacation. Here's a movie, kids. Like, we're going to go see it. This is what's going to happen.
The new era.
Yeah, so I mean, Disney really, is really looking at where they could have put this movie, and there was no competition for anything, really. I mean, it was going to make money. They knew that it was going to make money throwing it where they did in summer. They just
Yeah, they
could
planned that
not-
out perfectly. And that's
They
so
could not
funny
have placed
because
that landmine
everything
anywhere.
that we talk everything that we talk about leads to episodes that we've talked about in the past, which I got to give credit to this podcast and our work and our research, planning ahead. This is one of those situations where you plan it perfectly, hit right there, week competition around, kids movie, summer, it's going to hit.
All the
If they would have put this out in October, it probably would do well. I don't think it'd do what it's doing right now.
And they have been doing some marketing as well for this movie, which, Disney is kind of hit or miss when it comes to how much money they throw at their marketing budget. We've seen them do hardly anything for some movies, and then other movies, they just ram them down your throat. And this one, I feel like, was right there, where they were putting it on, all kinds of streaming, devices. You've got your Disney Plus, so they've got it advertised there.
Yeah.
You've got the Disney Channel advertised there. You've got radio advertised there. Online presence, for all of whatever networking they have on there. I'm sure they marketed the crap
I honestly
out of it.
don't think 900 million is out of the ballpark. I think you could see 900 million right like that first week of July. And then the next film that we're going to talk about comes out, and I think that will take up from there.
Right.
Yeah, that's going to be Despicable Me 4.
Right.
Yeah.
And those movies have always done pretty well with kids. Well, I shouldn't say kids and adults.
Yeah.
And adults, because
That's
I
right.
think
I've seen them all.
no judgment, absolutely no judgment. Yeah, like, because that's the cool thing about kids' movies nowadays, is that you want to make a movie that's fun for the kids, make them laugh and everything, but you also want to have some jokes in there for the adults. That's what makes it for the parents going to take it.
For
their
sure.
kids.
Despicable Me 3, $80 million budget, box office, $1 billion.
And there you go.
So I'm pretty confident that Despicable Me 4 is going to do upwards of 800 to 900.
Yeah.
All right.
At
So,
minimum.
All right.
Yeah, just to, I mean, just to kind of give you guys.
This might be our first $1 billion movie of the year, folks.
Yeah, I mean, just to give you guys kind of like an idea of how big these movies are is, they're one of the biggest global animated franchises, like, out there. Like, you can talk about, like, the other ones that have been out, like Toy Story and Madagascar and, some of these other long-running franchises of animated movies. But this one, you're talking about, like, domestically, like 1.5 domestic and then like 4.6 global. So for like all of their movies, not just like one movie, but even still, that's a lot of money for some animated movies.
Absolutely.
Especially since these span back to, I think the first Despicable Me came out in like 2000 and I think it was like 10 or something. Maybe around there.
Despicable Me came out in 2010.
Ah, look at that.
Look
I'm
at you.
good.
Yes, you are.
So I mean, and they've been pretty consistent about like releasing them over time. So I mean, here we are 14 years later. Animated movies obviously take a little bit more time to put together and and then release. But we're talking about 4 movies plus the Minions, 2 Minions movies. So altogether, we're looking at 6 movies now over the span of 14 years. So they've been pumping them out,
Yeah.
and kids are eating them up. Now, some movies have obviously done better than others, and if you sit down and you look at the quality of the movies, some of them are better quality than others.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they've also done a lot with the 3D, and I think that's helped as well. So I mean, back when 3D was all the rage and all the movies were 3D, the Minions were right there on the cutting edge doing the 3D movies. This movie, I'm not sure if Despicable Me 4 was going to be in 3D or not.
Well, like,
I don't remember seeing anything saying that specifically if it was going to be 3D.
I like that you speak on the technological advancements, because you got to think back in the day, wasn't Toy Story the very first Pixar movie, and that was a hit back then. And like nowadays, the technology has gotten better, and they're able to pump out these movies faster. You know what I mean? And it doesn't really take much to please kids when it comes to these types of films.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I think I will be watching Despicable Me 4, but I'm not 100% certain yet. But I think I'm going to watch it. I did see the third one. That one was pretty funny. It was cool.
Yeah,
Nice little kids movie. It's going to work. Like I said, this could be the first $1 billion film of the year if Inside Out 2 doesn't hit it.
Yeah, I mean, it really.
I like Inside Out 2 at about 900. I don't think it gets to $1 billion. I think it gets like right under. Right under. But if it did get to $1 billion, I would not be surprised.
Right.
Because every weekend it's been 200 million plus.
We know Disney wants it because
Yeah.
they need the money.
Oh yeah, that would really help them out right now. That would make up for the Acolyte.
Right.
And we'll be talking about that in a future episode for sure.
Oh yeah,
Not
you guys
to
have
mention
any
Pixar hasn't been performing that well in general. Their
expectations for these films, guys? I'm gonna say, well, Inside Out 2, I think I've already been clear. I think you get about 900 million at this thing before Despicable Me 4 comes out. We do have A Quiet Place coming up next weekend. We are all excited about that. I think 900 million for Inside Out 2, and then Despicable Me 4, I'm going to say between 850 and $1 billion.
Yeah. I mean, I feel
At
like,
minimum. I don't think it's
I feel
doing
like that's
anything
fair
under
because,
800.
especially because looking at the numbers of the other movies that we've seen this year, and as far as the numbers that Inside Out 2 has done, it looks like families are going to the theaters.
Yeah.
And that is where the money is
And
at.
and just something to add, I think it's kind of the perfect storm, so to speak, because timing is everything. It came out in the summer when kids are out of school. You're damn right it made the money that it did. Kids are out of school. They want to do stuff.
Now, do you think that that's going to slow down because they're so close together where parents are like, yeah, we just spent, $100-something to take
Kind of already
everybody
shot
to
our
go.
shot there.
Yeah.
I don't
Do you think it's not, do you think they're too close together, or do you think they're spaced out enough where families are going to be like, yeah, we had a paycheck in between going to see this movie and the
I
next
think it
movie?
will because it
Like,
falls on July 4th.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
true. The
That
holiday.
that's perfect planning. Like
Right.
low competition as far as kids movies.
Yeah.
You did get Inside Out 2 out the way for the most part, and we got a 3-day weekend. This is what Furiosa tried to do, but this is going to work because it's a kids movie in the summer, and it's a 3-day weekend. So you get
And
that combo
Parents
there.
got more time.
Well,
off.
also
Yep.
too, we spoke about this before. Furiosa kind of has a niche audience,
Exactly.
Whereas
This has way more
way
of a wider
bigger audience.
demographic.
Yeah.
Like you said, parents will enjoy it, kids will enjoy it, teenagers, even if they're just like, just want something lighthearted to go see at the theaters. They're gonna-
Simple. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Despicable
I
Me
mean,
is-
you don't
yeah.
have to. Basically, you don't have to have a AAA cast or whatever.
Nope.
Like, and
All
I'm not
animated.
calling this low hanging fruit, but you don't have to try that hard. As hard with a kids movie. Like when you have like a real movie, real characters, special effects and stuff, now it gets a little more complicated. But with an animated movie, you can do whatever
And
the
this
heck you want.
also ties into what we said about not necessarily when you release a film, but the title that the film's associated with.
Sure.
Imaginary Friend did terrible. Animated movie with an actor that people like.
Right.
Did absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
This has a following. You know what I mean? And all the names that are attached with it, people like. You got Pharrell doing the soundtrack. The music's always good. You know what I mean? It's really like an interactive thing, too. It's like, oh, the music's great. Oh, the Minions are funny. It's like all these things. Oh, these people know how to voice act. It's all these things that you...
But one
Right,
thing I
right.
want to say about this, what have we been saying since we've started this podcast? We've been talking about remakes and sequels.
Yep.
These are sequels.
Yep.
So my question is,
And
Pixar,
tied into even another, I
or-
guess you could say
yeah, or
trilogy, too.
sequel-
It's like
or
a double
sequels.
trilogy.
There's sequels.
If you think about it, because you got
there's
Despicable Me and then you got Minions.
Yeah,
Those are two
spin-off
separate
movies.
things. Like,
Right.
spin-off
yeah.
movies. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
kind of
So
goes
it's
back
like-
to the original
yeah.
point of like, where's the originality? We need new stories, sequels, side projects, whatever. That's all well and good.
It's a
but
new
let's
crop.
but let's see somebody out there in Hollywood, out there in the animation world, be brave. Make a new.
That's
story.
where you get Inside
to
Out
be
now.
fair, yeah.
even
to be
though it's
fair,
a
you've got,
sequel,
like-
it is relatively new.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the new crop. But like you said, eventually that's going to run its course. Okay, we need something else now.
Because
Well, they just released, but they just announced. Excuse me, not released. They just announced they're going to do Toy Story 5. People.
Yeah.
So
I was happy
talking
with
about-
how it ended. I like the end of
Yeah.
Toy Story 4.
Talking
I
about-
think it should have ended there.
Well,
But-
well,
It
Toy
makes
Story.
money, so
Toy Story is going the way, I hate to say it, of Fast and the Furious. Let's have Woody and Buzz go to space. Like let's light this candle. We're
I
already
mean, they
going.
already had that. That was
Pizza
Lightyear.
Planet.
Let's go to Pizza Planet. Yeah, right. This is like
Oh, the crane.
the
The
claw.
claw,
There you
that's
go,
right,
Kage.
yeah.
Claw chooses who will go and who will stay. Goodbye, my brothers. I go on to a better place.
There you go.
But again,
Can't believe I remembered that.
but I guess to your point about the low hanging fruit, like if you look at most of Disney's catalog, they do sequels. I mean, used to be where in
Yeah.
the '90s they were straight to DVD or straight to VHS. Excuse me, DVD is not happening in the '90s, but they did VHS, right? And so, but when it comes to like what they've been doing in the last 10, 15 years, you've got these big releases that are going to the theater. So, I mean, you've got, like you said, you've got the Toy Story, you got Frozen. They're going to do a third Frozen. We already know this. They've got Inside Out 2. They're probably going to do a third one. They've got the only ones that I haven't seen them announce sequels for that have been really successful for them, and I haven't seen anything about that, was Encanto and Coco. And I think that's because you can't really do sequels with them. But with this, look at the Cars movies, had like 3 cars, and there was planes, and so I mean they had their own spin-off. So I mean they've done a lot of these movies where, like you said, they're not original. They're just repeating a story so they can reuse these characters.
They definitely like to rinse it out. They
And-
squeeze the juice out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
you're
I
not
mean,
wrong.
I feel like, yeah, we want to. They're giving us new material. You can't really say that all the stories that they've come out within the last, like I said, 10, 15 years haven't been different and new. They've given us new material. But then, after they give us the new material, then they're like, all right, people liked it.
Double
let's
down,
do,
right?
yeah, let's double down. Let's
You keep
do
making $1
another
billion,
one. Let's do
we're not
another
going to
one.
stop this.
Right. So, I mean.
Yeah, it's a money machine.
But if you look at like, and I can't remember what they called it with Pixar, but if you look at the movies that they released, they were all very different and original. So I mean, you had like Ratatouille, you had WALL-E, you had Up, you had even with Cars. I mean, a lot of these movies were very new ideas, and that was, I think, kind of like Pixar's like Renaissance period, if you wanna say. They were
I think
jack of
that's
all
fair.
trades at that point. And even with like their little cartoons that they had at the beginning of the movies, I always enjoyed those little short.
Yeah,
you know,
you're right. I forgot about
Excerpt.
that.
Yeah, the little ones that they had, and I mean, I remember back in the day, I was really excited to see like A Bug's Life. Like that movie was awesome.
Bug's Life is a great movie.
Yes,
Yes.
it is, and that's what I'm saying. But it's wholly original. And then I loved with the Cars how they pulled the Bug's Life back into that with Cars, and I was
Yeah.
like, that is just a fun little.
And
Disney always tries to do that where they tie into like little Easter eggs. Yeah, so I mean.
Wow.
Yeah, so I feel like that's great for the animated movies.
Wow, I think we had a great discussion on that, guys. We got a lot of animated movies coming out. They are killing it right now. We talked about Bad Boys 4. Guys, go watch Bad Boys 4 if you haven't seen it. I've heard
Yes.
nothing but good things. Kage watched it. He gave it 2 thumbs up. That should be enough. Go watch that movie.
And if you got kids, go see Inside Out
But
too.
do not
You're
take
gonna
your kids to
win.
Bad Boys.
Right, you're going to win both ways. Leave the kids out of Bad Boys.
Or you will have Bad Boys after they see that.
Nice. All right, guys, like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell for notifications. Always share with a friend and always tune in for the next episode of the Popcorn Square podcast. Be safe.